Nope, your eyes are not deceiving you. You are indeed seeing a Draw My Life in the Big 2-5. And with that being said, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Zan, and today I'm going to draw my life. Also, I'm only 20, so I technically haven't lived a full life yet, but this is everything leading up to this point. I was born in a small, unknown town known as San Francisco, California. My parents always said I was a huge baby with the biggest chubby cheeks. In fact, they were so chubby, they could probably produce their own gravitational pull. Like, look. Damn, I was a chunk. I was 8 pounds and 11 ounces, and I actually almost died at birth, but thankfully that didn't happen. And by the time I was about a year old, we moved out of the apartment we were living in and migrated to a completely different city. I don't remember any of this though, given I wasn't even conscious yet. My brain was like the size of an almond, probably. I'm actually the youngest of 3, but my siblings are a lot older than me, so I never really had much of a sibling connection with them. In fact, the only times I would see them is when they would babysit me, so I basically grew up as an only child. My situation was pretty generic for just a simple white family in suburban California, although my parents noticed something about me that was a bit strange. While all the other kids were obsessed with Lightning McQueen and Spider-Man, I was off in my own little corner obsessing over random stuff like household items and appliances. I genuinely have no idea why or what it was about them, but they fascinated me. Also, this was when I discovered my obsession with cameras. I used to yoink my mom's Sony Cybershot from like 2006, and I always annoyed everybody with how much I was always filming stuff. I also was unfortunately one of those kids that ate dirt. Apparently I would go into the backyard butt-ass naked and just take handfuls of dirt and eat it out of flower pots just like as a snack. To be honest, this probably explains a lot. Also around this time, this was when YouTube started to explode on the internet, and I remember always being sat in front of the computer to watch whatever I could find. Hooray, unrestricted internet access. God, I was like 2. But anyways, this just refined my love for cameras and video even more. And around that same time, I had my awakening for what would turn out to be one of my lifelong passions, and that is music. Specifically, the drums. I used to always watch music videos on YouTube or MTV, and every time a drummer came onto the screen, I would mimic them, like, ferociously. I guess I was just destined to be a drummer. Once I finally just randomly became conscious, it was time to start school. I actually had to do 2 years of kindergarten because the first year I could not give less of a shit about anything that was going on. I was actually low-key a menace too because I don't know what was wrong with me, but I just had zero social awareness and I would always ruin things for other people. I remember like 15 minutes into my first day of kindergarten, I knocked this dude's giant Jenga tower over and I was put on timeout within seconds, dude. I don't know what was wrong with me. But yeah, I just didn't care about school. I would always stare at random things in the room and go off in my own fantasy land. And this is when I was diagnosed with a little quirk known as Asperger's, or we just call it autism nowadays. Basically what this meant was I had a lot of trouble focusing on things that I wasn't interested in. I had a lot of social awareness issues, like spatial awareness issues, all of that. But I was really smart when it came to stuff I learned on my own accord, and I still reel with this learning disability to this day. My parents actually put me in a private school that gave me more access to tutors and teachers that would actively go out of their way to help me and give me like extra time, which was a W move on their part. Low-key, if I did public school, I would probably be like swallowed whole, like eaten alive, dude. I don't think I would ever survive that. Unfortunately, given the way I was very susceptible to bullying, and I would also accidentally find ways to make people hate me. I remember one time we were on the playground, and you know like those spinny things where you like stand in the middle of it and you like turn into a tornado? I thought it was a really smart idea to spin as fast as I possibly could and just stick my foot out of the side of it. And it was fun at first, but I accidentally ended up breaking some girl's nose. She cried a lot, and I felt really bad. I was never the best in school given my learning disability. Even with tutors sitting down with me for like hours and months on end, I felt like I was unteachable. I would still barely pass any tests or classes that I was taking. I was really good at algebra for some reason, but like for everything else, I just didn't succeed. I always had this internal jealousy of the people that were just able to get it too. Like, I wish I had that. But thankfully I was blessed with parents that only cared if I passed, and they weren't super crazy about me always like getting A's and stuff. So once again, thank you, parents. Aside from the bullying, I was able to actually make a few friends. Surprising, right? Although I made my best friend in 3rd grade. His name is Caden. You guys probably know him as he's been in my videos before. We've been friends for about 13 years now, and I actually view him more as a brother than my best friend. We've gone through a lot together, and I don't know where I would be without him. Caden actually regularly got me out of my shell, because most of the time I was just stubborn to do what I personally wanted, like in what I was hyperfixated on. But I was taught to sometimes do what Caden wanted to do, and actually that was really nice, because we used to go out into the woods with our bikes and we would do crazy BMX style jumps on like the trails that were down there. Some people like build jumps out there for some reason, but it was super fun. And around the springtime we would go and collect frogs. I remember one time we were out there collecting frogs, and I actually picked up 2 frogs stacked on top of each other. I was like, why are they stacked on top of each other? I then realized they were mating on my hand, and I got a little grossed out. I set them back in the water and they just sank, still attached to each other. It was like burned into my head. Caden is actually the person that got me into proper video games too. I wasn't that into video games until I was about 9. In fact, the only game console I had was the SpongeBob game console, the one where his nose is like the joystick. My sister gave me that for my birthday when I was like 5. Super fun though. I just wish I knew where it went. But yeah, he actually introduced me to Minecraft. I already knew of Minecraft beforehand, but I never actually sat down to give it a shot. Once I gave it a shot, I was addicted, dude. I remember we would always go over to his house, load up the Xbox 360 to play split screen together. And we actually had a creative world where we were building a ginormous mansion out of diamond and gold blocks, and we actually never ended up finishing it as we got older. But dude, we were building on that world for like almost like 8 or 9 years, dude. I don't even know how long it's been. I'm almost afraid to know how many hours we spent on that. Aside from Minecraft, I also really got into games like Halo, specifically Halo 3, Reach, and 4. And Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, all of it. Trials HD, do you guys remember that one? And Modern Warfare 2. Caden would always kick my ass at everything though. But I was still having the time of my life, and I eventually got my own Xbox as well. And once Caden really got me into gaming, I became obsessed with gaming videos on YouTube. I would always passively watch gaming videos like when Slender came out and like everyone was playing the 8 pages, but this was like a new level of obsession. This was around the time where I discovered people like Markiplier, Corey X Kenshin, 8-Bit Ryan, Jacksepticeye, Popular MMOs, you know, all those guys. And once FNAF came out, I was hooked even further to the point of wanting to make my own gaming content. The thing is, I already had a little bit of experience doing YouTube, because in my spare time I had a drumming channel where I just kind of uploaded drum covers of me playing to random songs that I liked, and I would edit it together, because my mom was cool enough to teach me Windows Live Movie Maker. So when I switched to gaming stuff, I was kind of confident that I was able to make something, you know, at least watchable. So I actually told Caden that I wanted to make gaming videos, and he was like, go for it. And I also told my friend Jackson from school that I wanted to make gaming videos, and we actually sat down during lunch and like surrounded my Chromebook, and we made the channel all together. It was actually Jackson's idea to come up with my original name, and that name was The Ender Killer, because I wanted to be a Minecraft channel, since DanTDM at the time was like my favorite YouTuber of all time, and yeah. That name stuck for a little while, like a few years. Now, I actually always would struggle making videos because I had a really shitty laptop that I got for Christmas, but hey, it worked for what I needed to do, and I was grateful to even have my own computer, so I made do with what I had. It was like this HP laptop with a Core i5 processor, really slow. I eventually upgraded to an actual gaming laptop, which was pretty cool. Thanks, parents. And after my first few videos, I was obsessed. I wanted to make videos all day, every day, and I actively learned how to do it just a little bit better over the years. And it got to the point where I did not care about anything else. I was just like sitting in school, spacing out, just thinking about when I would get home and what I was gonna record when I got there. This is probably my favorite era of making videos, because I didn't even have that many subscribers at this time. I think I was averaging like maybe 8 to 30 views a video, and it actually took me 2 years of uploading daily to finally reach 100 subscribers. This was actually one of the last vivid memories I have of this era of my life, as the next few years started to kind of blur together. In fact, the last memory I have of this era is one day in my freshman year of high school, we were all randomly sent home due to a rapidly spreading virus known as COVID-19. At first I was like, hell yeah, I don't gotta deal with the assholes that keep picking on me, and I could just go home and make YouTube videos. Those 2 weeks turned into 2 years. I got very, very depressed and angry around this time because not only was I just starting to go through puberty, I was also trapped in my house, unable to escape. I started getting in a lot of fights with my dad, and I was just always angry, and half the time I didn't even know why. Thankfully, I had drums to take all of my energy out on, otherwise I probably would have made a lot of bad decisions. And around this time, I actually got in my first proper relationship. I was friends with this person for a few years, and we actually dated on and off, but this was my first serious relationship. And it actually ended up destroying me when it ended. Canon event, I fear. I was 16. Definitely learned a lot from it though. And this was actually the beginning of probably the darkest time in my life. Around my breakup, my grandma got really sick, and I know I haven't talked about her yet in this video, but she was always my biggest supporter, no matter what. She was my #1 fan with no matter what I decided to do. So it really hurt when she passed away from cancer. Once this happened, I don't think I processed the grief until way later because for some reason, even though it hurt, I didn't feel very different, which was bizarre to me. Like, was I broken? What was going on with me? I genuinely had no idea, and thankfully I was in therapy at the time, and my therapist was able to tell me that everyone processes grief differently, and I managed to kind of hold out. That is, until 1 year later, we had to put down my childhood cat 5 days before my 18th birthday. She suddenly stopped eating and drinking and kind of moving altogether. And she wasn't really one of those lap cats or one of those cats that would sit on the bed or anything, but in the days and like 2 weeks leading up to the end, she would always sleep on my bed, and my bed only. And I think that was because I was the one that found her in the backyard. And on the day it happened, we called this really nice old lady, and she came in and put her to sleep on my bed. And my dad held her paw as it happened. I don't think I've ever sobbed that hard in my life. After that, I felt like I was losing everything. Caden wasn't around because, unfortunately, during quarantine, he got caught up in his own bad habits and had to go to rehab, so I didn't see him that much around this time. And since I didn't have anyone around me, other than like online friends that I would make YouTube videos with, I was just stuck in my house, man, suffering through all this loss and just getting angrier and angrier at myself and at my parents and just everything, dude. I was so angry at everything. I actually did end up getting to finish my high school experience because they lifted the restrictions, but not many people really wanted to talk to me or be my friend. And also just the way I developed during quarantine, it shaped me to be really, really socially awkward in person, and I just didn't really feel like talking to anybody. But thankfully, this one really nice guy named Felix, who everyone knew and everyone loved, he had my back throughout my senior year, and shout out to you, Felix. You're awesome. I still talk to him sometimes. Once I graduated, I was terrified because the structure that school gave me was no longer there. And my parents and I did chat about a plan for me to go to college, but I guess I didn't really process that until I was actually about to leave. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I was actually really, really excited. I just wanted to get out of that house, man. I was stuck in that house for 17 years of my life, and I just wanted to start anew, just to escape everything. And that's exactly what I did. I managed to move out of my parents' house at 18, and I moved into my own space. I was ecstatic. I was so ready for a fresh start. I even cut all my hair off and restarted my YouTube channel on the second channel that I actually called More Zan. And that's where I just did like, you know, random horror games and stream highlights. And that's actually the channel you're watching right now. It turned into my main. And I never could have been happier. New school, new channel, new haircut, new place, new year, new me. I even started being able to act like myself because I wasn't able to scream at home. Otherwise I would get in trouble. So I dusted off my homie Turdley, he was all dusty from packaging, and got to work. And at this point, around last year, I'd never been happier. College is okay. I'm still trying to figure out if it's really my thing or not. And right now I'm actually currently just passively taking online courses just to learn some backup skills, just in case YouTube implodes one day. But academics aside, I actually made some awesome friends in the classes that I've taken so far. And this is when the story starts to get happy again. Restarting my YouTube channel was the best thing I could have ever done. It felt so good to just start over. And within 4 months, one of my videos exploded, and from there, the growth has just been insane. And to add the cherry on top, I met a really beautiful, amazing person that supports me through thick and thin, and loves me for who I really am. And I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, we just hit 100,000 subscribers, which is why I made this video. I know you guys have heard me say this so many times already, and it's probably starting to get annoying, but since this is the 100K special, I just have to once again say thank you. This has been my dream since I was a kid, and I don't know where I would be without you guys, or this platform. And as a token of my appreciation, I wanted to show off all of my favorite pieces of Zan art that y'all have made for me to celebrate this insane milestone. Thank you guys so much for everything. And I will see you in Turdley in the next video. Peace the fuck out. Peace out, y'all. Have a good day. Stay safe out there.